Alright, sometimes when you're given a function table, you have to come up with a function rule. So to do this, your first step is to find the difference between each of your x's and each of your y's. And I always start with y's, and I'll explain that in a minute. So to get from -2 to 0, you're adding 2. To get from 0 to 2, you're adding 2. And to get from 2 to 4, you're adding 2. You do the same thing for your x's. To get from -1 to 0, you're adding 1. From 0 to 1, you're adding 1. And from 1 to 2, you're adding 1. So to create your function rule, it's always going to be whatever you got down here for your y's over what you got for your x's. So for this case, it's going to be 2 over 1. And you can reduce that to just 2. So you're always going to start your function rule y equals, and then whatever you got for your ratio there, you're going to pair it with your x. Now you're going to look at your 0 value if you have it. And if I put 0 in for x, 2 times 0 is 0, which is what my y is, so I'm finished with that function rule. That function is just y equals 2x. Alright, so we have another function table here. So again, we need to come up with the function rule. So again, start with your y's and figure out what you need to do to each of your y's to get your next one. So 3 to -1, that's -4. -1 to -5 is -4, and -5 to -9 is -4. Then figure out what you need to do to your x's. -1 to 0 is +1, 0 to 1 is +1, and 1 to 2 is +1. So again, it's always going to be your whatever's changing on your y to whatever's changing on your x. So in this case, equals -4 over 1, which you can just reduce that ratio to -4. So we're going to start our function rule with y equals, and whatever our ratio there was, we're going to put it with our x. And then look at your 0 pair there. And if I put 0 in, -4 times 0 is 0. So I have to add a -1 or subtract 1 to get y equal to -1. So my function rule is y equals -4x minus 1. Alright, so we're going to do one more example of creating a function rule. So again, start with finding the changes in y. So 4 to 7 is +3, 7 to 10 is +3, 10 to 13 is +3. Then do the same thing for your x's. 1 to 2 is +1, 2 to 3 is +1, 3 to 4 is +1. So our ratio that we can create is the changes we had in y is 3, and the changes you had in x is 1. So our ratio is 3 to 1, and you can reduce that to just 3. So we write our function rule, y equals 3x. And in this example, we don't have a 0 for our x. So we have to look at just any of the numbers. So I'm just going to pick 1 out of 4. It doesn't matter which one you pick. And we have to put that into our formula. So we get 4 equals 3 times 1. And this needs to be a true statement. So 4 equals 3 times 1 is 3. I have to do something to this to make it a true statement. So in order to get 3 to equal 1, I have to add 1 to it. So to finish my function rule, my function would be y equals 3x plus 1. And we can test that with one of the other numbers. So let's put in the number 3 here. So 10 equals 3 times 3 plus 1. 3 times 3 is 9. And 9 plus 1 equals 10. So 10 equals 10. So we have a function rule that works.